Today on the channel, I asked you, you came with the questions, I've got the answers. Welcome everyone, Kyle here, and welcome back to the channel for a little Q&A madness today as I posted on Instagram, of course, the _Kyle_Peterson. I posted on Twitter at SirPaul64, and then of course YouTube, you guys know the YouTube, you're right here. I posted, hey, question and answer time. We haven't done a question and answer video in quite some time. Hey, guess what? Let's get after it, let's do it, and that's exactly what we're gonna do here today. You guys sent the questions. I've got the answers, or at least I'm going to try to attempt to have the answers. So I haven't read through these. I'm going to go in order. We'll see what happens, and I'll answer them off the top of my head. I might have to come back on some. We'll see how it shakes out. But let's start. Let's start without any further ado. Let's get after it. And we're going to YouTube questions first because we're watching on YouTube. Might as well go here first. First question comes from Andrew Kurt Beringer. If you were to create an Elite Ultimate Edition of a wrestler that hasn't got a figure yet, who would it be? Also, keep up the content, enjoying the videos recently. So thank you, my friend Andrew. Now, there's a lot of wrestlers I would love to see a new figure of. First thing that jumps into my head, and there's probably maybe a better one. There's two. I'll give you two that I would really like to see. Dory Funk Jr. I love Terry Funk. I like his brother as well. Dory Funk has been forgotten in action figures. I can't believe we never got a Jax Classic. We haven't got a Mattel Elite. I'd love to see a Dory Funk Jr. I'd also, the ones that first jumped at me though, is the fabulous Rougeau brothers. Same thing, Jax Classic should have had them. We should have had them in LJN, Hasbro, Jax Classic, Mattel Elite. We've just never had the fabulous Rougeau brothers. Vern Gagne and his crew are going to right that wrong, but I want him in this scale that we got behind us here. So I'm hoping we get an Elite Rougeau brothers one of these days soon. Coming up next, good brother, good friend of the channel, Daniel Boswell. If you had to sell off your whole collection and only keep one figure, which one would it be? Very, very difficult to decide. You know, I should probably say that He-Man, King Grayskull, Mattel employee exclusive. I think there's only 31 of those in the world, and I do have one of those. I should probably say that one, but sentimentally, my favorite action figure of all time is the LJN Ultimate Warrior, just because of nostalgia reasons, his first wrestling figure, things like that. So it would be between those two. Nostalgia of the Warrior, dollar-wise, probably going to go with that He-Man figure. That's the plan there. Let's see. What is this? Chicho Lino. We've seen some big wrestling names achieve quite a bit of success in movies and series in the last few years. Which actor, actress would you like to see the opposite, from movies and series to wrestling? That could be fun. I don't watch a ton of movies and TV, as most of you guys know. We've discussed that on the channel. But the biggest miss of all time in the wrestling world. Now, I'm a huge MMA fan. Going way back to the 90s, I've always loved MMA. I've loved the Japanese sport of pancrase, of course, and things like that. And my all-time favorite fighter, and all-time favorite personality is Boss Rutan. If you don't know about Boss Rutan, man, you're in for it. Look him up. Now, he did have a cup of coffee like a lot of fighters did in New Japan Pro Wrestling. He just had a very brief appearance. But Boss Rutan is one of the most charismatic individuals of all time. A Dutch kickboxer, mixed martial arts legend. He was a pancrase champion, heavyweight champion, and UFC heavyweight champion at the same time. I absolutely love Boss Rutan. More Boss Rutan stuff, the better. I was so happy when Jax made Boss Rutan figure back in the old UFC line back in the day. I would love to see that because Boss has been in a lot of Kevin Smith movies, TV shows, things like that. He is primarily an actor and MMA commentator and, you know, pitchman for things and stuff like that. But if we could go back in time, if he didn't do MMA and he did wrestling, I think he would have been the biggest, one of the biggest stars of all time just with his personality. Absolutely love Boss Rutan, so that would be my answer right there. Let's see. Next up, we got Mitch Wooten. Hey, good brother, do you still collect CDs? You have the best collection. If so, will you include a room tour in 2022, the CD collection or music room? Also, thoughts on the new Saxon. So I did talk about new Saxon in weekly purchases. It was the album of the week. Love me some Saxon. Denim and leather kept us all together, but it was you that set the spirit free. We all know that from Saxon, of course. Unfortunately, on the CD collection, I was very fortunate. I was going back and forth. One thing I talked about, I don't want this to be too long of a story, but talking CDs, my wife and friends and family have no idea what I had in CD collection. I had CDs that were worth hundreds and hundreds of dollars. And I always try to think for the future as best I can. What if Kyle gets hit by a bus? What if Kyle has a heart attack tomorrow? Guess what? Angie, my wife, of course, is probably taking all those figures or all those CDs to Half Price Bookstore and getting like 50 cents a piece on those. And I said, you know what? My company car, I do have a company car, has no CD player in it anymore. And I don't have time, unfortunately, to, especially at that time, to be listening to CDs staying put. I listen in my car primarily. So I had all the digital streaming stuff. I have an iPad, or an iPod, I should say. I have 2 computers with all of my CD collection backed up. I have 20,000 some CDs. However, I did decide during COVID when I was home, I said, you know what, it's time to sell my CD collection. I prefer CDs to digital, but I had it all backed up, and I had an absolute fortune sitting there. The CD collection I ended up selling, and I still have about 1,000, 2,000 CDs still to sell. I sold that for about as much as my first house cost. So let's just say I made a heck of a lot of money. I struck while the iron was hot when people were getting their refunds and all that kind of stuff from the government. And I had a probably one of the best CD collections if you're a metalhead in the entire world. I mean, I had some deep, deep cuts, some very, very hard to find stuff. Now, you're probably saying, well, I got a lot of CDs, maybe they're worth a ton. Well, Whitney Houston, Michael Jackson, the stuff everybody has, that's not worth stuff. And a lot of those people don't want CDs. But heavy metal brothers out there, we want physical media, and that's the way that all went. So that's kind of the short story right there on that one. So, short story. What is the absolute worst action figure you've ever seen from either Mattel or Hasbro? Man, there's been some god-awful ones. And right off the top of my head, there's been a few disappointing ones. Ravishing Rick Rude, LJN, Hasbro, Ric Flair, oof. And then a lot of the MCU stuff. There was that Captain America Infinity Saga one that didn't even look like him from the movie at all. They had to run that one back recently. So there's been a lot of bad ones, but notoriously I always look on the positive side of a lot of things, and I saw see a lot more good than we do see bad as a whole. At least maybe that's just me trying to justify it to myself. But that came from Jetman80 Pops. Paul says, what is a film, television show, or video game franchise that you wish had an action figure line today, but doesn't? And which figure company would you want to make the figures? My favorite film of all time is Devil's Rejects. We have had those figures in the past, and I would think maybe eventually we'll get some more House of 1,000 Corpses Devil Rejects figures consistent. We do have a new Captain Spaulding figure coming very soon. I'll be unboxing that on the channel. TV show, it's so funny. I am a classic 80s, 70s sitcom guy. I would love to see NECA try a Brady Bunch set like the Golden Girls, or give me Webster. I absolutely loved Webster. I loved Different Strokes. Those were 2 of my all-time favorite shows growing up. I would love to see those represented in action figure form. Very, very strange, very weird, but we're getting Alf. Get me Ma'am, get me George, get me Ben Vereen, get me Webster Long, get me all those guys. That's what I want to see. So we'll see if that ever happens. I'm not going to hold my breath. Slim Jim says, has there been any Max Moon figures? If not, what's up with that? Yeah, they put out Mae Young figures, but can't produce a figure for the masked fireball shooting jetpacking intergalactic space legend. Well, he loves himself some Max Moon, and man, I'm here for it. He's got a mask. I would love to see a Max Moon figure, but it all comes down to the almighty dollar, and it comes down to, doesn't JR always say cash or creative? And if you really think about it, that's everything. Not just wrestling, that's everything. It comes down to cash or creative. They're not giving whoever owns the copyright to that. I don't know if it's Conan. I don't think it is. But it comes down to them not saying, hey, you're not giving me enough money, or they just don't want, or Mattel or whoever doesn't want to make it. Comes down to one of those kind of things out there. So that would be it. So there's the answer on that one. Mary Baeza says, did you ever buy a toy line you really didn't like but bought it anyways because it might go up in price, and do you think you'll ever sell your collections? No, I'm very adamant. I buy only what I like, or at least I like at the time. I'm not going to waste my money or spend money on something I'm not into. I mean, there's been tons of times I could have picked up Pokemon stuff and things that I don't really know anything about that I could have probably flipped for money. Just not for me, though. If I'm not interested, I just don't got time for it, and that's the way it goes. And do you think you'll ever sell your collection? Oh, 100% I will sell my collection, hopefully before I pass away, so I don't have to burden my loved ones with it. But hopefully, I'm hoping I can retire fairly early, hopefully, earlier than the 68 or whatever it is. And I could spend a couple of years just going through it and piecing it out and selling it and all that kind of stuff. So that'd be a full-time job for a couple of years, I'd imagine. But definitely, you kind of think of it as I own it temporarily and I got to get it because I don't want to put my girls and my wife through having to sell all this stuff. It wouldn't seem fair to me. So hopefully I'll have time to sell it all. Gary Swain says, I'm a longtime Hulkamaniac. I know you're a warrior. Oh, yeah. Which warrior outfit would you like to see a figure released in? And if you could only keep 3 WWE figures, which would you keep? Warrior LJN for sure. That Warrior kind of Hall of Fame speech one's a good one I'd want to keep. And then the Hall of Fame Warrior. That is an amazing Ultimate Warrior figure. That Hall of Fame Target exclusive. At least for Elites, that's what I'd want to do. I would love to see that Survivor Series 1990 that was up for the Ultimate Edition. I'd like to see that in figure form. Hopefully that comes one of these days. What's the least you spent on a figure that wasn't free? That's from Seam Play. Just recently on weekly purchases, I bought a ton of figures for $1 a piece, and one of those I needed was the Legends of the Ring Jeff Jarrett figure. I ended up getting 2 of those for $1 each, so I don't know if I've ever got a figure cheaper than $1, but that's a pretty good deal. And I've had a lot of good deals out there, and some might even say, gotta get a deal, and ProWrestlingTees.com can get you a gotta get a deal t-shirt. Cheap plug. Damien Hair Metal. Oh, Damien, loving that hair metal. What's your favorite Lucha Libre figure, and would you like to see more Legends of Lucha Libre get figures like Niebla, Roja, and so on? Man, more the merrier. I'm not super deep into the Lucha Libre. Of course, I know a lot of the 90s Lucha Libre, even to the early 2000s, watching Triple A on TV and stuff. So I do like some of that stuff. I would love to see La Parka. We need a good La Parka figure. That's my all-time favorite luchador. I really do like that Penta and Rey Fenix boss fight figures. I just wish they were a hair bigger, but man, those 2 figures really blow away a lot of the competition. I just wish they were scaled a little bit better, but those are amazing figures. If you didn't get those, man, check those boys out. But more Lucha Libre figures, the better. More wrestling figures, the better. I'm all for it. Joseph Vinsco. What terrible 80s, 90s gimmick would you love to see get an Elite? I.e. Yeti, Giant Gonzalez, Mortis, many more. I mean, right there, Mortis, Glacier, Giant Gonzalez, one of my all-time favorite Jax Classic Superstars. I absolutely love a hairy bipedal creature. Get me a Mattel Giant Gonzalez. Oh, I'd be through the moon. I'd love to have all those terrible gimmicks. You know, we got Goon recently. Give me TL Hopper with Plunger. Give me Duke the Dumpster Jarosi. Give me some of those WCW ones, Oz. I love that kind of stuff, and I think there is a place for some of those strange, weird gimmicks. I think a lot of people would buy those more than maybe some people would think. Javier Diaz, what are some of your favorite YouTube channels that you love to watch? Well, Javier, I love to watch you and your son do your thing. But I also there's a lot of channels, but I'm weird. I'm weird about this. Until I started on YouTube, I really didn't watch YouTube outside of heavy metal stuff. I've never watched action figure reviews, anything like that. I try to be as authentic as possible, and I think that helped me. Going into this, having no idea what I was doing, I never watched reviews from other reviewers, how they did things, so it's just I am me, and that's, I think, the thing you got to do. Whatever you do is be you. Don't try to pattern yourself after somebody else. You can take some tips and hints, but you got to do your own thing out there, and that's kind of what I have done. But that being said, I mean, I've obviously looked at stuff. I never check out a review until after I already reviewed it. I don't want to be influenced by anybody else. I want to come in with my own eyes, my own thoughts, and then maybe I'll go back and check some stuff. Obviously, the Foosh, I really do enjoy the Foosh. Robo's very entertaining. Old Dave Wheeler, good friend Dave Wheeler from up in Minnesota. I love watching his live streams every once in a while. That's something I would like to do, is more live streams, but I feel like I need a sidekick for a live stream. And I don't know, we need maybe David C. Anderson or that old outlaw Waylon Jennings. We'll get him on here. He could be my sidekick. We could do live streams together. I don't know, but we'll see one of these days. Pixel Dan, of course, is another really good one. I don't really watch a lot. Outside of that, that's pretty much what I watch for the most part. And I don't even watch a ton of that. I just don't have a ton of time. But I do enjoy anybody that puts up a review. I think it's very smart to do. So there you go. Izzy Gibson, what will you be doing after Classic Superstars on Tuesdays are done? Videos on TNA Legends of the Ring and WWE Legends series would be a great segue. And actually, I've said that on the channel before. Once Classics was done, I was going to segue into Legends of the Ring, the Mattel Elites. That being said, we all got a huge curveball about a week ago, if you're following along in real time. Picked up that Jax Classic Superstars collection. A lot going on with that collection. A lot more to come. Of course, if you're a Patreon member, you're going to get first dibs on the ones I'm selling from those. But stay tuned. A lot of Jax Classic content. I got a lot of work on my plate in my real life, and I just added a ton more work to my plate. But I think you guys are going to like the results. It just might be a little bit of that old-fashioned long game. It might be taking me a year or two to get everything done what I have planned. But trust me, you guys are going to really enjoy it. So stay tuned. Wink, wink. How did you end up getting John Cena Australian exclusive figure from Sammy's World? It took forever. That and the Rey Mysterio were two white whales. I had an easier time getting the John Cena, and I think I remember I got Rey from Australia. I'm not sure where I got the John Cena from. I got him from somewhere there. It could have been Australia, or it could have been somewhere somebody sold him here and I got him again. But I did get him, but the Rey was the one very challenging to get. S. Barnett, do you have every single Ultimate Warrior figure? If not, which ones are you missing? I'm fairly certain I have every mainline release throughout the years of the Ultimate Warrior, but I don't have like the 1 of 3 Jax Classic Superstars. I don't have the, 1 of 5 Mattels. Some of those really, really pricey, crazy ones I don't have, and unfortunately I probably never will have. I just can't. I couldn't justify spending like 10 grand on one figure. I just couldn't do it. And my wife is the biggest saint of all time. She never bats an eye, lets me do my own thing. She might bat an eye if I spent $10,000 on one figure. I'm just guessing. Maybe not, but I'm missing all those. What is the biggest wrestling figure shelf warmer of all time other than Rio in China? Well, going way back to the day, I mean, there's been a lot of them. Corporal Kersher back in Outback Jack back in the LJN days. I mean, Outback Jack was everywhere. And it was actually my first wrestling figure I ever picked up. You get some of that there. Dr. Death and Jacqueline from the Jax days. I mean, there's been tons and tons of ones. Rio and China pale in comparison to that Jacqueline and Steve Williams figure, Dr. Death. I mean, those hung around for multiple years, if you can believe that. Even the classic Superstar Ring Giants, those things hung around for quite some time. So there's been a lot of peg warmers throughout the year for sure. John DEC, were you ever into Transformers? Oh, baby, was I ever. I love Transformers, G.I. Joe, wrestling, and then it was usually Transformers, Turtles, Star Wars, somewhere in that mix. I guess Masters of the Universe was my first love, but I absolutely love Transformers. I had a very good amount as a child, but usually most of the time I'd get G.I. Joe first, then I'd move to Transformers. But yes, I did have a lot of Transformers. I buy Transformers right now. I buy a ton. I show them on my weekly purchases videos, but I don't unbox Transformers on the channel. They're too complicated for old man Kyle. I don't want to sit here for 2 hours trying to figure out how to transform this robot, but I do love Transformers a whole lot. Paul says WWE Mattel Elite 100 is coming soon. If you had the power to make the 100, Elite 100, whoever you want, who is it be and what era? Also, it has to be wrestlers that Mattel can realistically make. I got to think for 100, they're going to do something special, very similar to Basic 100. I think you're going to see like Stone Cold. You're going to see Shawn Michaels. You're going to see The Rock. I'd hope we see the Ultimate Warrior. I got to assume we'll see Hulk Hogan in there. And probably, did I say John Cena? And then Roman Reigns is probably another one. I think they're going to go with who's been the classic ones over the years. I think that's the direction they're going to go. Or they're going to really surprise us, and they're going to put brand new first time in the line people in the entire set. Really kick off the next 100 with some brand new people. It would be really cool if they did Series 1 all over again and updated, but they can't do that as well. So very, very cool ideas, and a lot of people have thrown out fantasy booking ideas, and I got to think we'll find out very soon what is in 100. Maybe they'll announce it WrestleMania weekend. I would really enjoy that. We'll see what happens. Daddy-O, what are some of your favorite wrestling play sets, and what are your favorite accessories for Jax figures? Not a big wrestling play set, guys. We haven't had a ton of wrestling play sets. As far back in the Jax days, there was a lot of like backstage brawl play sets and stuff like that, but I never dabbled into those. So I guess just rings are pretty much the play sets, and I'm pretty good on rings. The classic Hasbro ring, if you count that as a play set, was probably my favorite. I also enjoyed the Galoob ring back in the day. Favorite accessories from Jax figures. I always liked it when they gave like a hamburger to the Bushwhackers, or like a pop or a drink or something. I don't know, it's funny stuff like that does pop me. But I don't know. There's been a lot of good accessories throughout the years. There's been off-the-wall ones. But I think chairs and tables are probably your favorite. If you're playing, you can never have enough tables and chairs. So those are probably my favorite. Wrestler who did his job so well as a heel that you came to hate him. I always was a kid that liked the heels primarily from the get-go. I was always rooting on the bad guys, especially like Bobby Heenan and his guys. I absolutely loved Bobby Heenan. Nobody I really ever hated. Some of those guys, like the franchise Shane Douglas, he was so hateable in ECW, but I just loved him. So stuff like that. The Horsemen back in the day. So that's a hard one for me to answer. Mutant Taker asked my favorite metal band. Well, everybody knows my favorite metal band. I worship at the altar of Motorhead. They are my all-time favorite band. Oh, so many great memories of Motorhead throughout the years. Meeting Lemmy a few times, going on the Motorhead cruises. I was on both Motorhead cruises. I saw him 20 plus times around the Midwest. I just always looked forward to a new Motorhead album, new Motorhead live album, and concert run. It's just a big chunk of my life is missing after all that. It's just been very sad. I never thought I'd be that sad, but it is sad. My top 10 favorite wrestlers of all time. Oh, geez. I love LOD. I love The Ultimate Warrior, Terry Funk, Ric Flair, Arn Anderson. Just tons of guys I love. Matt Riddle I like a whole lot. I don't know if he's in my top 10, but I really do like Matt Riddle going way back. Aleister Black, Malachi Black. Big fan of him over the years. Demolition, Warlord Barbarian, The Powers of Pain. All the Horsemen. Tully Blanchard, some of those guys. Go to ECW, the BWO. I got a lot. I don't know. I'd have to really sit and think and put them in order. It'd be tough to do. Izzy Gibson asks, will you be rearranging your Classic Superstars wall after the new purchase? Oh, yes, I will definitely be doing that. Pasquale Soriano, was your most expensive figure you have bought? The biggest, most expensive collection I bought, I've been very fortunate. A lot of people I get the question a lot, maybe it'll come up here, is how do you afford all this stuff? Well, yeah, it's a lot of money, but I bought all these things. 99.9% of my collection was bought at retail prices. Like everybody always says, well, Jax Classics, how did you get that? Well, I bought them when they were $11.99 coming out. I didn't have to go back and pay $100 for some of these figures and stuff. But the most expensive purchase I ever made, toy-related, was when I finally picked up that Masters of the Universe Classic series. Complete collection, all in one fell swoop. It was back in the day those were coming out. I couldn't afford it. I didn't make enough money. I had two kids on the way, or one kid on the way at the time, married, just trying to get settled in my career, all that kind of stuff. I just couldn't afford it. I was G.I. Joe. I said I can only afford one. I'm going to do G.I. Joe because it was my biggest love, but I was happy to right that wrong all those years later. What is the biggest hot garbage of figures in 2022 so far? From S. Barnett. Geez, I don't know. Hot garbage of figures in 2022 so far. Nothing really sticks out yet in 2022. We're still very early in the process, but I'm sure we'll have some for the end of the year. Sammy's World says, what made you start collecting WWE Jax? Well, I was of an age where they were the new toy line out there, and I saw Bone Crunchers at Walmart, and I said, holy cow, sign me up all day long. So I started collecting those. Had a real fondness for the Bone Crunchers. I bought that big David Anderson collection back in the day. And then I hated Titantrons. I hated R3s. Basically made me get out of wrestling figure collecting for a while. Absolutely hated those. But then the Ruthless Aggression came back. Absolutely loved those. Classic Superstars. Loved those. Went back and bought all the Ruthless Aggressions, as you guys know. And I had all the classics. So just kind of the way it goes. That's why I picked them up. Daddy-O, what's your favorite Jax CM Punk figure? Gosh, it's one of those pay-per-view ones. I'm terrible. I am really terrible at listing. Oh, that's Ruthless Aggression Series 15. But there's a CM Punk one that is an amazing head sculpt on him. A lot of good head sculpts from Jax. But then the 3-star tights. I'll try to put up a picture if I can remember to. But there's been a lot of them. A lot of them are very similar with just little tweaks here and there. But a lot of good Jax CM Punk figures. Yule Gray says, do you like pizza? If so, what's your favorite? Well, you're in luck. Patreon, cheap plug for my Patreon. $5 tier and above, you're going to get Kyle's weekly pizza review. I am known in some circles as a pizza king. I've been on podcasts, I've been on TV, I've been on radio. I absolutely love pizza. I am a pizza connoisseur. I've had many pizzas in my life. So I do love pizza. It is my favorite food by far. I could eat it every single meal of every single day, and I would have no problems with that. Absolutely love me some pizza. My favorite pizza, whenever I try a new pizza, I usually try sausage and pepperoni. I feel like if they can get that right, they can do other stuff, and then I will transform into some more of the fancier pizzas and stuff like that. Graziano sausage, a Midwest thing. That is my favorite sausage by far. An amazing sausage if you ever got the chance to try that. I do like barbecue chicken, barbecue beef pizzas, taco pizzas. Basically, I'll eat any kind of pizza as long as it doesn't have chunks of tomatoes on it. I just don't like tomatoes on my pizza. It is what it is. But I do love pizza, and if you're interested in pizza reviews, I'll be doing them every single week on the Patreon. Brandon Hayden, why did you let Ty Conte steal your heart when Rio danced across the sand and into ours? Does Lemmy watch wrestling with you? Lemmy's always by my side. I don't know if he really watches, and what I think Tommy Dreamer said it a long time ago. I'm hardcore, so that's why Tay and Rio can live with me together, because I'm hardcore. Sans Pie 02, any purchase regrets? Regrets? I've had a few. Very rarely have I ever had a purchase regret at the time. I've had a few times that made my stomach turn a little bit, like, oh, what are you doing here, on some big purchases. But no real purchase regrets. I mean, I do the That's So Hard to Say Goodbye videos here on the channel, so I guess those are somewhat regrets, but they weren't regrets at the time, so I don't really fault myself for it. And most of the time, I'd say if I ever buy something and I sell it, I at least get my money back, so I don't feel so bad about it. But no, you should try to live your life with zero regrets, and that's what I try to do. I really have very few regrets in my life, and the only ones I really had were I didn't have the money at the time. Just like that Masters Universe collection I talked about. So that was a regret, but besides that, day-to-day life, day-to-day purchases, I never regret anything. There was a reason I did it, so I shouldn't regret it. It's kind of how I live my life. Daddy-O again, have you ever made a custom? I am a custom master, as you guys all know. Well, not really. But I do dabble in very easy customs, like, how about AJ Styles' Kyle Peterson figure right there? That's about as good as custom. Head swaps, body, different shirts and stuff, that's all I do. I save the major custom stuff for the guys like Dave Wheeler out there. Cheap plug for old Dave Wheeler. He does that kind of stuff. Breaking news comics. Hot Toys, Mezco, or 1/12? No. Yeah, I don't collect any of that stuff. I don't know. I'm very, I was going to say I'm very frugal. I'm not super frugal, but those kind of things are so expensive. And to me, I can enjoy a Marvel Legends figure about the same as one of those. And the Marvel Legends are so much cheaper. And, you know, we all have limited budgets, or our budget is our budget. If I dabbled into that, I wouldn't be able to collect a lot of other things. So it's just not for me. For whatever reason, that's just kind of the rules I set to myself very early on. And then the final YouTube question here. Let's see. Like what you like, a Q&A. This is from Brian Rodriguez. I don't quite know. How did you start collecting toys? I think you can say how to start your YouTube. Don't really understand the question here, but how do you start collecting toys? Well, you just go to the store and you buy them, or you go online, you buy them. If you're asking how I started to collect toys, I've been a collector since I was a little kid. My first memories of action figure purchases were He-Man and Star Wars figures way back in the day. And that's how I started, and the rest was history. So there's YouTube. Let's do the social media questions next. All right, we roll on with the Q&A. We go to the Twitter questions right now, and the first one comes from JT Energy, Midwest Wrestling current legend, taking the place of Gage Octane as a retired legend. He comes in with, if you were fantasy booking the next WWE Elite Series with 2 current, 2 ruthless, and 1 legend, who would you choose? Give me Dory Funk Jr. as the legend. It's just been too long. 2 current, give me Matt Riddle. And give me Omos in a nice big deluxe figure. I want something like that in the Elite. And then 2 Ruthless era guys. I'd love to see, like, it wouldn't really be possible, I don't think. But I'd love to see some of the off the wall. Give me Cade and Murdoch. Give me the Highlanders. Give me Festus and Jesse. Give me some of those guys. Give me a Funaki. I'd like to see some of those guys. That would be really fun. And I guess the question here says no constraints, who is or who isn't under contract. So maybe some of those off-the-wall guys back then is who I'd want in there. Good brother Sambro, longtime viewer of the channel, longtime friend. Who would win in a fight, the Ultimate Warrior versus Flint? That would be one that would just be just an epic brawl. 2 of the all-timers in the action figure game, in the world game. I don't know, weapons involved, I'm going to give it to Flint, but hand-to-hand combat, the Ultimate Warrior just steamrolls him real quick steamrolls him, but I just hope that would never happen. I'd hope they'd be a ferocious tag team. And then old Sambro, what's your favorite current day Jeep? If he's talking my current day Jeep of what I've owned, is I've had quite the Jeep collections over my life. I think I've had 15, 16, maybe even 20 Jeeps over my entire life. I've thinned the herd down to 3 right now. My favorite Jeep of all time is the Jeep Grand Wagoneer, the old school one, wood grain. I absolutely love it, but I do have a Wrangler. I could do a good story on some Jeep stuff, but current day, if I was going to buy a brand new Jeep now, I would buy a Grand Cherokee. That's what I would get as far. Usual Mike, Usual Mike, follow him on YouTube. He puts in a question here. Great Star Wars content. That's where I get the majority of my Star Wars news, is kind of Usual Mike, is where I like his opinion on stuff from the land down under. I love Australia, as you guys know. What is the most disappointing line of action figures you collected, and have you sold it? Oh boy, I can't think of, I don't know. I've sold a lot of things. I guess the most disappointing line of all time, and I did just being a collector, buying lots and things like that, would be Jax Wrestling Titantron R3s. I know some people love them. I just absolutely hate them. I hate them. And I've had a ton of them, and I did sell them. I sold big lots of those just to get rid of them. They're not for me. I just don't like them at all. So that would be the answer there. Then we got My Damn Toys, one of the big YouTubers out there, old My Damn Toys. Check them out as well if you haven't. I'm sure you have. What's your collection worth in total, you think? I think more than my house, which is absolutely crazy. I bet you I'm at least $500,000. Probably something like that. Oof, crazy. Will you ever do a deluxe aggression collection video? Maybe as part of my thing. I don't know if I'll ever do a deep dive into one. Maybe if I run out of content. A lot of people hate that line, and I love your fascination with the line. I love it. But I am doing weekly deluxe classics, doing the deluxe versions on Tuesdays. So we are doing them kind of one by one. We're doing all the classic series videos on the channel. What's your actual job title and description? My actual job title is Senior Executive. I'm a Senior Executive. Not one of them juniors. Not one of the little ones. I'm a senior. I'm a Senior Executive. And I think I handle millions of dollars on my head every single year. It's a very, it's be careful what you wish for. A lot of people say, oh my gosh, you got a great job and all that kind of stuff. And guess what? You work hard for jobs. Just talking in general, you work hard, you put a lot of hours in, you put a lot of blood, sweat, and tears, all that kind of stuff. And sometimes be careful what you wish for, because with those big jobs that everybody complains about, people complain about CEOs and things like that. I'm not saying I'm a CEO or anything, but I do have a very, very busy job. And yeah, you get paid very well, but guess what? You don't get vacation. Your sacrifices you get from some of these jobs, you work 70 to 80 hours a week. You don't get a day off. You never get a vacation. I'm lucky I try to get Fridays off every once in a blue moon, but I've had so many years where I just didn't even use 2 weeks of vacation because I can't. So that's one thing you got to be mindful of a little bit. People do complain about, oh, these people do that, but guess what? They don't get time off. They don't ever get a rest. I'm always a phone call or a text message away from disaster, and that does suck. So you do got a lot that goes with those things. But at the same time, my wife doesn't really have to work. She stays home. She shuttles the kids around and all that kind of stuff. And that's the next part of the question. How do you balance time with your wife and kids as well as the channel, traveling, working, toy hunting? Yeah, it's a lot. I mean, I have never have a downtime where a lot of people are at the end of the day, they say, oh, the day's over. I'm going to lay on the couch and watch TV. I don't ever have that. I am always working on a speech. I'm working on some writings. I'm working on something for work, or I'm editing a YouTube video. And I do travel for work, and that's great. I'm in a hotel. I can't be around my family and stuff, so I can try to get as much stuff done then. My wife does work on Sundays, so I do make the videos on Sundays. I do all that. But I see the kids around at night after work. I've been working from home, which is nice, so you're around them a little bit more than I was back in the day with the traditional office I had to go to. But it is a lot. It is a balancing act, and really you just cut out sleep is what you do. I used to love to get 8 to 9 hours of sleep. Now about 5 hours a night, 5.5, something like that. It's just a constant grind, and you get used to being in the grind, I think, so you don't think much of it. But I know I hear it from a lot of people that your pace is just too much. You just do too much, and they're right. I need to do something, because one of these days I'm going to drop dead of a heart attack. That's what's going to happen. There's just too much stress, too much pressure going. I don't know how I got into that, but anyways, it's a lot of work, but it's a lot of fun too. And the YouTube channel is my stress relief. I think that's what's keeping me alive. So I do enjoy that. Old brother Sambro again, do you ever regret being a WWE Elite Completist? No, not really. If I do really wane one day, I could see how that would be kind of sad. It's like, oh, I've come this far. I shouldn't give up now. It hasn't came yet, but it's been a lot of work, but it's fun. It's really fun to say you have a complete collection of a line that is this big. I don't know. There's not very many people out there that have a collection like that, as most of us know. Brandon Pauly, do you think Jazwares will continue the UFC figure line? I'd love to see some legends mixed in as well. Man, you're preaching to the choir. Give me all those legends. I'd buy all the legends. But I think it is done. I just don't think there's enough. The people that love the UFC and mixed martial arts don't buy toys. There's a little bit, but it is very, very small. And you see them in the toy aisle, there's no little kid that wants a UFC. They don't want Javier Mendez or Amanda Nunes. They just don't. Little kids don't want that. And it's just not... It sounds great on paper. It just doesn't happen. It would be one of those things where if Jazwares sold only online and it was on demand product, maybe it would work then, using some UFC, using the AEW body molds and stuff with different heads. I think it could work, but I think it is totally done. Wrestling Figs UK blog spot. Check them out on Twitter. A lot of good content there as well. Favorite Mattel Build-A-Figure. You guys know I love the Build-A-Figure. Some people hate them, but I think it is a great idea. I really do like this brand new Jimmy Hart. That is a very, very solid Build-A-Figure. And they're very easy to make for the most part, so I don't think they stress Mattel's wallet budgets too much. I like that Jimmy Hart a lot. I really liked some of the manager ones. That like Booker T one was really good. John Laurinaitis, I really liked that one. The Jim Ross one was a good one. There was a lot of those that were pretty good back in the day, but I really do like that Jimmy Hart. Maybe it's just because it's brand new. The Jim Ross, John Laurinaitis, Booker T are the ones that really stand out to me, right now at least. What's one celebrity figure you would like to see released? That's from Mr. Urass. I'm going to go back to Boss Rutan. Give me Boss Rutan. Anything Boss Rutan, I'm here for every day. Good brother Jay Metzler, not Dave Meltzer. Jay Metzler. There we go. Good brother here. Midwest legend, some might say. Was there ever something you wanted real bad as a child, asked for your birthday or Christmas list that you didn't get, but were able to collect it as an adult? Was the feeling bittersweet or awesome? Thanks as always. You're the ultimate collecting warrior, KP. Thank you, thank you. Christmas that I didn't get, were able to collect it as an adult. I guess there was some wrestlers, some LJNs out there that I didn't get. I mean, you just can't get them all. G.I. Joe, not so much. Star Wars, not so much. Pretty much, I would say just some of the wrestlers, maybe some of the LJNs and some of the Hasbros. And I don't think, like, the Nasty Boys I could never find as a kid. And I think my dad would have picked them up. If we would have found him, he said, yeah, we're getting this all day long. And we've been looking for this for years. But I never got a chance to get it. So I did get it in later years. But nothing good. I wouldn't say I was spoiled. I was a very good kid. I don't think I ever got in trouble once. So I earned it. I earned some of those toys. And I worked from an early age as well. So, but nothing really too big that I think I missed out on. I guess one line that I always wanted, and I understand why I didn't get it, because you can only have so many collections as a kid, but the Cops line back in the 80s, I really wanted those Cops figures. I really loved that animated cartoon. I never got any of those, though. Mike Cummings, do you think you will open up a toy museum in your autumn years? Absolutely not. Not going to do that. How often do you check Amazon for new toys each day? Very, very rarely. I don't poke around Amazon for new toys very rarely. Who would you like to see take the lead for Motorhead? No, it's got to be done. There's no replacing Lemmy at all. I would like, there was really hard talks for a while that Mickey D and Phil Campbell were going to be joined by Jason Newsted on vocals and bass as like a tribute tour. I would be okay with that. Some people are against that. I would absolutely love that. Let's do a tribute tour, play it proper, promote Lemmy. I love Jason Newsted's solo albums, obviously most known for Metallica, but he's got some amazing albums. He could do Lemmy's vocals justice as well, so I would be okay for that, but it's got to be done. If you had to get rid of your collection but one, what is the last man standing? Probably that Warrior LJN. The U Kid, what heel did you hate most as a kid? The UK Kid, what heel did you hate most as a kid? Ted DiBiase, maybe. I didn't really, I like the heels a lot more than most, I think. So, what was the most surprising peg warmer you've ever seen? That comes from Steven Ranzier. Rio? No, I don't know about Rio, but there's probably been some. I can't think of anything off the top of my head. I'm trying to go through the old mental Rolodex. I'm sure there's been a few over the years that are a bit surprising. I mean, even some of the collector's editions, like the Michael P.S. Hayeses and stuff. You know, everybody, and we always talk about it, online, it's the vocal minority is what the online community is. They want those Chief J. Strongbows of the world, but the average Joe out there, they don't want anything to do with those figures. So it's always kind of messes with your head a little bit. J.R. Knowles, is there a long-term goal of when you will start to sell? Obviously, we can't keep things forever. I touched on that a little bit earlier. Probably a retirement age, maybe even sooner. I might start piecing out some stuff before then. Who knows? But I'd like to do it before I get too old. And, you know, I could do a video one of these days about collecting because I have some fears about this collection and a lot of your guys' collections out there as well from the years to come. And I don't know, that would take a long talk, but we could maybe do a talk on that if somebody wants to hear about that one day. Arm, leg, arm, head wants to know, what are we doing? And that's what I want to know. What are we doing out there? I say that at my work life all the time. I'll be on these conference calls, and instead of just being yelling and having to yell at people, which I have to do from time to time, I usually say, now, what are we doing? what are we doing here? What are we doing? It's just a good catch-all, and it works in the action figure game as well, as you guys see. So what are we doing? I don't know. Mario, what is your favorite Chaser limited edition figure? What about a favorite one you have owned? One that comes off of my mind, Jax Class Superstars 10100 Terry Funk Bloody Edition. You guys know I love old Terry Funk. That is a fabulous, fabulous one. Of course, the Ultimate Warrior 100. Some good ones there. Craig Spencer, most wanted wrestler who has never gotten any sort of figure ever. Probably the Rougeau brothers. Seems kind of weird, but man, they're all American boys. We need those in our toy collection. Old Joey, Joey, local referee, Impact Pro Wrestling out of here in Des Moines, Iowa. Does Chris Benoit deserve a new action figure? Deserve might be a stretch. Now, you guys know Chris Benoit was my favorite active wrestler during his time. I absolutely loved Chris Benoit. Just loved him back to the ECW days, everything else. That's my kind of wrestling, hard-hitting like him. Never going to happen. I don't know. I don't think you can make a figure of him. I just... And I guess, do we know it's 100% true? I think 99.9% of the time you know that's the way it happened, but there's always that 1% doubt because there was no letters, there was nothing like that. I mean, we have to assume he did that deed, so I just don't see that ever happening, and I just couldn't really support getting a murderer out there in an action figure, so I guess not, even though I did love him. It just doesn't sound like that's the way to go. Stack says, do I pay up and buy the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle Monster Raphael off eBay, or do I wait for the day it actually arrives in the Midwest Targets? Man, speaking my truth right there. Will it ever show up? That's $1 million question. I would say hang tight. Don't overpay for anything unless you really, really have to. Brandon Pauly, what are you planning to do with the duplicate Jax Class Superstars just bought? Flip or open? More to come. Stay tuned to the channel. Subscribe, hit the old notification bell, all that kind of fun stuff. So there it is. That's the Q&A. I got through everything. We're going to do a monthly Q&A on the Patreon. So, man, check out the Patreon link in the description below. We'll do Q&As maybe once or twice a year here on the traditional YouTube channel. But if you got any burning questions, you need help with some decisions, you want to talk business, give me some questions on the old Patreon, and we'll answer them for you there. So there it is. I hope you enjoyed the Q&A. Until next time, I am Kyle. I will see you guys all real soon.